everybody. You thought just because I'm not here, you are not having class, right? I bet some of you rejoiced just now when you realized a relief teacher come in. Surprise! You still have class today, so I hope that you have your books. If you don't, go and get them. You have 5 seconds before I continue talking. Five, four, three, two, one. Okay, I'm starting. All right. Before I begin anything, I'm sorry I'm not here. As you can tell from the bottom of the screen right here, I'm away making preparations for my wedding, so I'm really sorry. But I'm here recording this lesson at 11:45 at night. So please appreciate this. I'm sacrificing my sleep for this. Jensen, make sure you pay attention today, and everybody else don't sleep. Okay, Sherlyn, you also. All right. So, number one, reminders for Wednesday. Remember, on Wednesday we have our CA, last CA for the term. We have an art gallery presentation. All right. So, remember, by Wednesday, I need three things. Number one, your rubrics you need to bring along with the worksheet. Number two, your art needs to be done, not half done, not 75% done, entirely done. Okay. Number three, the description, the box needs to be done by Monday. I will have printed it when I come back on Tuesday. So by Wednesday morning, if it's empty, I'm just going to print an empty box. Okay? That's final reminder. Okay, so let's move to today's class. You need your workbook and file and keywords. Okay? You need a workbook, your file, and your keywords. We have 5 seconds as well to get that. Open that and put it all on the table. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Done. All right. First one. First one is a self-test. Self-test for Unit 1 and 2. What we're going to do is that before we move into Unit 3, you are going to have a little test for yourself. So this is what I call self-study motivation. I'm going to give you a self-test. You have the option to not do anything. Okay? Because only those who want to do it will submit it. But if you don't do it, you're losing out a lot, because this test is a way for you to know whether you have remembered everything that you've learned. If not, you've just wasted a lot of your time in class. Okay, so to know whether you've wasted your time in English or not, please do this test, and then if you want me to check your work, then you please submit it to me. Okay, like you said, it's going to test your knowledge, test your vocabulary, and give you an example of what the writing is like. Okay, so you don't just look at it and go, oh, well, the essay, the descriptions. This is also for you to see, okay, what a review looks like, what a story looks like. Remember our PAL, our DME, all of those things. Okay, so you have 10 minutes. Can I get, oops, can I get Vanessa? Vanessa, can you go and take the papers and give it out to everybody, please? Okay, you have 10 minutes to do this one. Let me show you how. The worksheet should look like this. Okay, it's from John Krasinski's A Quiet Place. I think I showed you this video before, you know, of the pregnant lady in the bathtub where she has to keep quiet. If not, these crones will come and get her. Yeah, that one. Okay, I wrote an essay on that, and I included all the things that you have learned so far in the essay. Okay, so if you have truly learned everything that I've mentioned in class, you should be able to identify it even if I didn't tell you. Okay, so what you're going to do, for example, creak when someone, or still, or worse still, something behind my door. I froze mid-chew. Stew onion, I didn't think of it. What are all these? Creak is an auditory sense description, remember? Well stewed soft onion. Someone want to guess? Which sense is that? I hope in class somebody actually said something. Taste. Meat, dot, dot, dot. What's the dot, dot, dot? Ellipse. To show what? Suspense, right? So you're going to find all the rest. For example, commanding my body. Who can tell? If you can command your body, technically your body's not alive, your whole person is alive. So if I command my body, that's a personification. You're treating your body like a separate person. Okay, so all these you should know from what I taught you in Unit 1, Unit 2. How to remember? Put your Unit 1 keywords next to this worksheet, and then you can do it together. So if you look at something and you're not sure what it is, go and look through your keywords. Oh, it is actually auditory, and that's how you highlight it and you label it. Don't just highlight and leave it there. Highlight and leave it and label so that you will know what this is. That is your way of revising, okay? For example, silent of the grave, simile. Okay, so I give you 5 seconds, sorry, 10 seconds. You can write down all these things first. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time's up. Okay? Highlight, label. Then you test yourself. If you're not sure what it is, ask the person next to you. If the person next to you also don't know, look at your keywords. If your keywords also don't know, means both of you have not finished writing your keywords. Technically, your keywords should have everything. Okay? Right, so here, teacher in class, I'm so sorry. Please stop the video here. After the 10 minutes is up, you can click play again. So I'm going to assign Rachel. Rachel is technically the one who should be doing homework this today, Monday, right? So Rachel, can you please put a timer of 10 minutes? After 10 minutes, you can tell teacher, we are done with it, and then you're ready to move on to the next task because you have 3 homeworks today. Okay, I'm going to give you 10 minutes that you should be able to identify everything within 10 minutes. Okay, not just this one. There's another one, a third page as well. You need to do both. Okay, all right. I'm presuming this is 10 minutes later. Okay, fast forward in time. Second work that you need to do today. This technically we should have discussed this on Wednesday, as in given you as a homework. I think I gave you some help in class on Wednesday morning, which is technically tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning I'm going to give you some help in class on how to do page 35 to 37. And so Monday is when we discuss it. So sitting next to Rachel technically should be Tasha. Tasha, can you please note down who has not done it? So Tasha can be mini teacher now. You can stand up and go look at everybody who hasn't done it. Those who haven't done, please own up. Tasha is going to write down your name. I have a spy in class. Okay, so Tasha, thank you. You're going to give me the names later. Okay, so workbook, page 35, and please prepare a red pen. Technically, I told you in page 35 to 37 is a vocabulary practice, right? So I should have told you on Wednesday to cross out this one, the etymology, cross that out. It's not really of use to us. We are going to practice synonyms and the meaning of words, okay? Like I said, you can use a dictionary. I hope you didn't just come up with the meaning off the top of your head. If you don't know, you should have used a dictionary. Okay, so first one, use a red pen and make corrections. Analysis. Analysis comes from the word analyze, which means solving complex problems by breaking it down into simple elements. Synonym, examination, investigation. If you have another word, don't mark it first. I will mark it when I collect your book. Okay, but I want you to write down the answer regardless. All the answers here, write it down. Liberty, to have free choice. Another word for liberty. I hope you're responding in class. What answer do you have? Freedom, independence. Destroy. Another word for destroy is such as R. I don't know if anybody can tell me. Destroy means to damage, to attack, but a synonym of it would be such as R. Ruin, demolish, tear down. Okay, write down all the answers here. All the answers here. Vocabulary practice. Okay, 5 seconds before I move on. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, next one. Psych and edifice. Psych comes from the word psychology, psycholinguistics. When you say psych, you should think of brain, right? So psych means human mind, soul, or spirit. So another word for that would be literally the same thing: soul, spirit, or inner self. Not the outside body self, the inner self. Psychology, psycholinguistics, psychoanalyze. All those come from the word psych. Right, then when you see edifice, sometimes you can guess the meaning of words from the spelling of the word. So if you see E, if I say outlet and inlet, the in tells you is inside things, out tells you is outside things. External and internal. External, the X tells you is outside, in tells you is inside. So if I say Eddie, air sounds like outside, right? E. Fist sounds like face. So outside face, what has a face on the outside? A large building or structure, something on the outside of a building. So synonyms, building, structure. Write down all of them. I will be very impressed if you got this answer correct without searching the dictionary. Boleh, red pen, corrections. If done, I'm going on in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, if you haven't finished, ask your friend for it. Next one, page 36, 7, 37. Page 37. You must be able to replace a word. This one, I think I should have technically briefed you on Wednesday as well. You are going to use your abilities to change meaning. So if analyze, if you remember analyze just now, yeah, this is here. Okay, if analyze means solving a complex problem or examination or investigation, analysis means examination. Analyze means examine or investigate. So the way the word is analysis, analyze, analytical, all mean different things. So you need to know which one to use in the context. Okay, so in this text, I think you should have read it. Sherlock Holmes, the preeminent fictional detective of his generation, is renowned for his analytical abilities to analyze things. So, what word can I replace? Problem solving. If I just say investigation, renowned for his investigation abilities, not really. Problem solving abilities, investigative abilities. Okay, if you're not sure of your answer, don't mark wrong, don't mark right, just leave it. Okay, but I want you to write the answer anyway. Continue. The stories are written and set in London, and references means they talk about that city are used liberally. Remember, liberal means freedom, right? So liberally, they are used freedom throughout the text. I can't put the word inside, right? Used freedom, used freely, repeatedly throughout the text. Holmes' main aim is to curb the destructive. Okay, just now we said destructive means ruin, right? Destruction means ruin. So let's try to put ruin inside. To curb the ruined criminal habits? Not really. So damaging, ruinous criminal habits. Okay, the word you use is different. Of which the most famous is villain Moriarty. We're going to learn about that in chapter 3. Okay, there are many Sherlock Holmes stories. One of them, the biggest enemy is called Moriarty. Anybody in Europe, in America, knows Sherlock Holmes. Okay, so we are not going to be the katak di bawah tempurung or ting ti zua. We are going to learn who Moriarty and Sherlock Holmes is. Right, let's move on. Their confrontation are often psychological. Remember, psych means inner soul, inside, right? So psychological. I cannot say inner soul in nature. I will say mental in nature, with each man trying to outsmart the other. Holmes' desire to defeat criminals is as much about his own edification. Remember edifice? Edifice means outside, right, of the building. Okay, this one is a bit different. This edification means he's going to make his outside look better. Improvement of the mind. Surely it doesn't mean building of the mind. It means improvement of the mind. Okay, 5 seconds to write all the answers down. When I collect the books, I should technically not see only your own answer. I should see your own answer as well as this inside, regardless of whether you think you're correct. Can you just quickly look to the person next to you, in front of you, behind you, to see if they did it? Moving on. Okay, second one. Now, same thing. There are some words here that are not underlined, but you need to give the meaning anyway. Preeminent. Pre means already. Happened before. Pre means before, right? So preeminent, distinguished or famous. Renowned, famous or well known. Curb. Curb means stop, like the car curb. Curb. So if I say stop, rein in. Have less of. Confrontation. Confront means front. There's a word front inside. So front tells you I go or I stop. Confront means I go. So clash, conflict. If you say fighting is wrong, confrontation doesn't mean fighting. Confront means I go and face the problem. Outsmart. Another word that technically you don't need a dictionary. The word outsmart means most probably means you are smarter or you are not smarter, because there's the word out inside. It means defeat you. So smart until you defeat them. Okay. Again, write down the answer. You should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 answers. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Look at the person next to you. Correct? Look at the person next to you. Did they mark and correct everything? If not, you have the power to ask them to do 10 star jumps, please. Hopefully nobody needs it, so I'm not going to count to 10. Okay, if there is, please remember who it was and tell me when I come back to class. Okay, right, good. If you've done that, homework number 2 done. Okay, so technically you should have homework number 1, unit 1 and 2 self-test. Homework number 2 is corrections of this. Okay, homework number 3, before we do homework number 3, it is about what you're going to face in unit 3. Okay, let's see what exactly you're going to be learning about. I hope everybody has heard of Sherlock Holmes at least once in your life, and you should technically know already. We already read about him a little bit in unit 2. He's called, remember Arthur Brand, he's called the Sherlock Holmes of the art world because Sherlock Holmes is a detective, right? So what does Sherlock Holmes actually do? Why is he so famous? What's the big deal about him? If I found out who cheated in the exam, why am I not called Sherlock Holmes? Why is there not Joan Lee detective? Why is Sherlock Holmes such a big deal? Okay, so we are going to spend the whole of chapter 3 learning about him. So let's watch what it is about.
More than a century after first emerging into the fog-bound, gaslit streets of Victorian London, Sherlock Holmes is universally recognizable. Even his wardrobe and accessories are iconic. The Inverness cape, deerstalker hat, and calabash pipe. And figures such as his best friend and housemate, Dr. Watson, arch-nemesis Moriarty, and housekeeper Mrs. Hudson have become part of the popular consciousness, as have his extraordinary infallible powers of deduction utilized in the name of the law, his notorious drug use, and his popular catchphrase, "Elementary, my dear Watson." And yet many of these most recognizable features of Holmes don't appear in Arthur Conan Doyle's original stories. Doyle's great detective solves crimes in all sorts of ways, not just using deduction. He speculates and at times even guesses, and regularly makes false assumptions. Furthermore, Mrs. Hudson is barely mentioned. No one...
Alright, make sure you remember that when he says most of the time he makes guesses. Remember what we learned in Unit 2? What's another word for guess? It starts with an I, I-N. Five alphabets. Infer. Infer means I guess, right? And based on what I guess, I try to say what it means. That's called imply. I infer that you are listening in class, I'm guessing, and I'm therefore implying that you are paying attention to me. Infer, imply. We are not doing that only in reading comprehension. In chapter 3, we're going to level up a bit. Instead of just guessing from a text, we're going to write a clue so that other people can guess or imply and infer what we are trying to say. Okay, that's the main point of chapter 3. You're going to write a detective story, so we're going to learn from the best, Sherlock Holmes. And number 2, we are going to try and use clues inside our writing.
Says, "Elementary, my dear Watson," and the detective and his sidekick live apart for much of the time. Moriarty, the grand villain, only appears in 2 stories. The detective's drug use is infrequent after the first 2 novels, and Holmes is rarely enthralled to the English legal system. He much prefers enacting his own form of natural justice to sticking to the letter of the law. Finally, many of the most iconic elements of the Holmesian legend aren't Doyle's either. The deerstalker cap and cape were first imagined by Sidney Paget, the story's initial illustrator. The curved pipe was chosen by American actor William Gillette so that audiences could more clearly see his face on stage. And the phrase "elementary, my dear Watson" was coined by author and humorist P.G. Wodehouse. So who exactly is Sherlock Holmes? Who's the real great detective, and where do we find him? Purists might answer that the original Sherlock, inspired by Arthur Conan Doyle's university mentor, Dr. Joseph Bell, is the real.
Alright, this part is important. This part is important because we are going to explore and choose one person that you find really interesting, someone that you think is a bit smart and is very observant. You're going to choose that person and try and make a story about them being a detective or them being a suspicious person. Okay, so Sherlock Holmes is inspired by someone who wrote about his university professor. You are going to write about someone else as well. He wrote about university professor because he thought he was interesting, he thought he was smart and observant, and you have a lot of interesting things to say about him or her or them. So you're going to choose someone as well.
One. But the fact remains that that version of Sherlock has been largely eclipsed by the sheer volume of interpretation, leaving Doyle's detective largely unrecognizable. So there's another, more complex, but perhaps more satisfying answer to the question. But to get there, we must first consider the vast body of interpretations of the great detective. Since Conan Doyle's first story in 1887, there have been thousands of adaptations of Holmes, making him perhaps the most adapted fictional character in the world. That process began with Victorian stage adaptations and accelerated with the emergence of film. There were more than 100 film adaptations of Holmes in the first 2 decades of the 20th century alone, and since then, there have been many thousands more in print and on film, television, stage, and radio. Holmes has been reinterpreted by people everywhere, in remarkably different and often contradictory ways. These adaptations demonstrate both Holmes's popularity and his malleability. For instance, he featured in a number of Allied anti-Nazi propaganda films during World War II, and both Winston Churchill and Franklin Delano Roosevelt were avid enthusiasts.
Anybody know who Franklin Roosevelt is and Winston Churchill? They're important politicians from America and the UK in World War II. So they're trying to say that many, many, many important people also are fans of him.
The latter even joining the Baker Street Irregulars, a Holmesian appreciation society, and nicknaming one Secret Service hideout Baker Street. And yet, at the very same time, Holmes also appeared in various German-language film adaptations, some of which were said to have been much-loved favorites of Adolf Hitler. So let's return to our question. Would the real Sherlock Holmes please stand up? The truth is that this world of adaptation has made him into a palimpsest. Sherlock is a cultural text, repeatedly altered over time as each new interpretation becomes superimposed over those that precede it. This means that Sherlock continually evolves, embodying ideas and values often far removed from those found.
Anybody recognize the mouse from just now? Geronimo Stilton is actually inspired by Sherlock Holmes. The smart mouse who can investigate everything is also an adaptation of Sherlock Holmes. So we're going to do the same thing in Unit 3. Alright, so let's just presume the video is done. Okay, right. Okay, right. So the last one. Last one. You have another 10 minutes, or I'm not sure how long this is by now. It's a 2-period class, but the last 10 minutes, you are going to do an introduction to Unit 3 exercise. So Unit 3 is a fiction chapter. Okay, it's a fiction writing chapter, or mostly fiction. So you need to remember the fiction story parts. If you remember, there's a diagram that goes like this that we use to draw stories. Remember, technically that diagram has how many parts? Those who have your keywords on a table, there should be a part in Unit 1 where we drew that diagram. Go and find it. I give you 5 seconds. Look at Unit 1 keywords and look at the diagram that we drew. How many parts does a story plot diagram have? I hope when I do this, you're actually doing what I said and not just letting me count on the screen for no reason. Please don't embarrass me. Okay, but yeah. So, Ryan, please distribute the worksheets. Thank you very much. So we're going to revise a part of the story, how to identify it, and other ways I can have a story plot. Instead of just this, triangle thing, there's other ways to do it, more interesting ways to do it. So, the worksheet, I'm not going to post it here. I have it somewhere here actually. Oh, there you go. The worksheet should look like this, okay? So, finish off this part. And I know there's a word here, denouement, not denouement, denouement, that you do not know. But you should be able to infer or guess. You should be able to guess which part this is because you should know all the other parts. And therefore, if you fill in everything else, for example, everybody should know that climax happens at the most peak one, so climax should be put here, right? So if this is climax, this is this, all the other stuff, then you should naturally know where denouement is, and therefore what part that is called. Is denouement the beginning, the end, the middle, the going up, the going down? Find out yourself after you finished it. Okay, fill in this one, and from this you will know what denouement means. This one, please do not highlight everything. Okay, just use a pen and annotate on the side. Okay, don't highlight everything. Just like label which part is this story. Use 5 different colors to highlight the 5 stages in this summary of the story. So you should, maybe the first 3 lines are introduction. Maybe this is climax. Maybe, I don't know the answer yet. Maybe this is denouement. Maybe this is denouement. I don't know. Label that on the side. Okay. Then obviously the story continues here, and then this is the new version. Okay. Some of the terms you use twice. Try to fill it in. When I come back, I will discuss it together. Okay. Another 10 minutes to do this, and that is the last thing we have to do. If you have done that, you have done a good deed for the day, because you have listened to your teacher online, even though I cannot be there to stare at you and scold you in person. If you have reached the end of this video, it means that you have listened to me. Good job. You should know that you have 3 homeworks: self-test unit 1 and 2, workbook page 35 to 37, worksheet 3A. All 3 should be done before Wednesday by the time I come back. Okay. Alright, if that is done, thank you, class. If there is still time in relief class after this, teachers, I'm sorry, that means relief teacher, that means there's nothing else to do. Just let them do their own homework. Thank you. Bye, guys. Crap, how do I stop this recording? Ah.